Hello, everyone. Welcome in to another best ball draft on Underdog.com. Shawn, how are you feeling?
Doing good. Ready to build this roster, win BBM, stack cash, just total underdog takeover over here. So I'm pumped. And
I like winning money.
post draft, I feel like is a good time to just. There's so much uncertainty. There's a lot of like rumors, and the rookies just got taken because pre-draft. There's a lot of ambiguity of where they're going to go. And for example, one of my guys that I really liked pre-draft was Damian Martinez. And pre-draft, I was smashing him in drafts, but now he's a Seahawk, and there's two good Seahawks now.
Pour one out.
There's for real, for real. I need to get some kind of a bottle. I'll pour it out later, though. I promise. So, like now the Zach Charbonnet prayer circle that for the Bears, for Charbonnet to come to the Bears, that does occur offline. And full disclosure, as a Michigan fan, alum, super glazer, Zach Charbonnet was a transfer. I do not claim him at all,
Wait.
unlike some people down in other states that perma claim everyone who's ever stepped foot on campus or was like lived in Ohio, visited Ohio.
You're not claiming Sharps?
No, we don't claim anybody. That it's just not the vibe. I don't know. I've never heard anybody, even when Joe Milton was like going crazy in that one game, no one was out here claiming that, even though we could easily use him as like as a talking piece. He at least has tools. We'll see if he actually amounts to anything. But
if you
he did it once.
You're saying someone transfers, they're no longer a Michigan man?
No, and we don't try to like add to the scoreboard. Like the Joe Burrow discourse is ridiculous.
And for everyone who's watching, the Joe Burrow discourse is the Ohio State fan base community completely claims Joe Burrow as their own. And this applies to every Ohio State fan, by the way. They all feel this way.
This one is the most egregious because Joe Burrow is obviously awesome. So it's a very valid, not a valid claim. It's the opposite. It's a super invalid claim. But because the prize is so big, Joe Burrow's a stud, and maybe he falls to us in this draft. We'll see. But I don't know. Hopefully
we'll pop on in and see what happens.
Yeah. I guess it depends if we. I was gonna try to take a swing at some of the naked pocket passer drafters, but if we're not number one, then Chase isn't probably coming to us, so that might be us. So I'm just gonna pretend. Naked drafting isn't always the worst decision. But
do you want to do a puppy or a BBM?
I kind of like just swinging big. I don't know about you.
Let's go for it. We'll try 30 seconds first.
Yeah, because we did, for your own sake, 20. I actually do like 22nd for both like co-managing a team and like just talking through it. We're doing this live. It does make it slightly challenging, but we'll start with this difficulty setting on all Madden, so why not?
And we lucked out today because the 30-second clock actually only needs one, so we're in a good spot and it's filled.
Nice. So yesterday we may have called out some drafts not filling like we thought, and the people listened. So influencer arc starting ?
I think you're onto something there. I think the word's getting out, even though the episode hasn't been posted yet. Just the aura, our
telepathy is real. The internal guilt that people sitting on their couch, not watching sports and not doing drafts, set in with them. And there's no type of obligatory excuse that they had. If you're pulling up to brunch with the girlies, even for the girl, the female viewers and such, there's a time after brunch, of which there are many, we try to keep the champagne mimosa count down so there's enough brain cells ready for the draft. And
100%. Couldn't have said it better myself. And we get the 9 hole here.
Oh, that's a good spot.
It'll be interesting to see if one of these top running backs falls to us. See what we get. CeeDee Lamb really popping up more and more at the 102.
Why do you think that is? Because of the target share? Because they didn't draft anybody? There were fears that he would at least have to share the spotlight a little bit.
Yeah, I think he just totally survived the draft. Even if they get like an Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen or something, he's still the locked and loaded alpha. You know, that expectation that he was going to get a Matthew Golden or a Tet or something didn't come to fruition. And last year, you know, he dealt with a shoulder injury of his own, still balled out 1,200 something yards with half a year of backup quarterback play. He's just so safe. And who do you like here? Puka, Neighbors, Nico, BTJ?
I'm fine with Puka or Nico, because Puka we could get a late round stack with Stafford and he's pretty cheap, and we could go Nico 2 streams and just run the bag. I'm down with that too. But
let's do Puka just to kind of get those exposures evened out, you know. And none of these guys in the first round feel like true fades, so it's kind of like take whoever, you know, assume that the random number generator giving you your picks evens out over time. It's like, all right, I'm in the 10 or 11 hole, I get Nico. I'm in the 8-9 hole, I get Puka type thing.
Yeah, and with these guys, it feels like pretty similar situations, maybe aside from Neighbors, who might be the best overall talent of the group. But if you're looking from a stacking perspective, Brian Thomas has a very nice number 2 in Travis Hunter that you can stack with a later quarterback, just as Puka has Devontae Adams with Matthew Stafford. So I like having those options, and you don't have to pay up sort of above the price that you're hoping to pay for. The last year BBM champion is getting the Burrow Higgins T stack at a much cheaper post-championship price.
Right.
A little bit of hopium that Nico falls, but
you never know. You never know.
Are you a big Brock second round guy, or I like running back in this slot.
I'm into it a little bit. I think he's going to fall a little bit with some of the data I've seen. He's slipped a little bit, about half a spot. I mean, this would be insane. I don't think we're going to get him, but Gary, you fella.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's CMC unless you feel strongly. I think CMC that's a total smash. I know he took him last stream, but sometimes you gotta take the best player available, and
we're just loading up on this McCaffrey.
Because it's BBM, because there's so many entrants, you have to swing for first. Christian McCaffrey has the highest upside of the running backs by far. Just on pure upside, I would say.
When it's December and you're looking at this lineup, do you want a Brock Bowers team or a healthy Christian McCaffrey team?
That's true, especially with Brock. I would even extend that to all of from a pure upside. Obviously, Saquon is going to help your advance rate, and that's why he goes higher, because he deserves to. Now, he could put up the numbers, but because the Eagles are such a good overall team, they don't need to run Saquon into the ground as much. I would assume, as the defending Super Bowl champs, their priorities, I don't think they'll go full Chiefs where they're coasting the regular season. That's never been their vibe as a franchise, but they sat him week 18 last year, so they at least have a little bit of an eye of precaution, but they didn't draft a running back. So either that's the pro Shipley angle, which I'm happy to entertain, or it's a vote of confidence in Saquon.
Totally. And who knows, maybe this ends up being a Will Shipley draft in its own right. You know, you get McCaffrey and then you get the double leverage on Saquon by saying, you know, he doesn't make it through the season and Shipley takes over as the workhorse there. It's behind Saquon. It's Will Shipley and AJ Dillon. which I know where I'm putting my bet.
Yeah, I'm not. I've gotten burned by Dylan in a dynasty league. Dylan had such crazy super hype that I, out of random, I had 3 or 4 consecutive big offers. The highlight being Brandon Ayuk, and I got lost in the sauce and sad with him. And now he's useless, and now he's on waivers. But literally was offered Ayuk, was offered like Jerry Judy and other people. It's crazy. So at this spot, definitely not Chase Brown.
Thank God.
Definitely not Chase Brown. My biggest fade. I just don't think he's this level of a running back.
What do you think about Lamar Jackson?
I like going elite QB. Is Josh Allen on the board, or did he? Oh, he went 3 picks above. I'm fine with it. And then we can have Stafford as a backup. Maybe Purdy, Stafford. I don't know if you think that's too heavy of quarterback investment, but that's 35.
If we go Lamar, I think we're fine with even 2 quarterbacks. And this way,
yeah, I like it.
We might be able to even build out some other stacks, because the thing with Stafford, my only thing with him is he really doesn't score that many points. Like last year, he had 222 points. Gino, who didn't even have like an amazing year, had 281. They end up passing, they end up
because he doesn't rush
so
at
much.
all.
He doesn't rush, and then they rush so much at the goal line that his touchdown rate's a little less than you'd like.
So who are we thinking here? Next pick 40. I kind of like Mike Evans here.
That would be my lean as well. I'm starting to come around a little bit more to Tet as just like the alpha. If Mike Evans is gone, I'm never going to take Tet over Big Mike, but I'm into that. I'm buying the DJ Moore dip. Hopefully Mike's here.
One more. Oh, Amari and Hampton's nice, but
we can't let this guy get Big Mike with the Nico thing too. That would be
Gary. Gary better not Gary us. I swear.
Gary V, do not do it.
No, you need to go back to flipping items at auctions. Okay,
right.
No more stealing Nico Collins.
Yes.
Okay.
Big Mike.
Yeah.
Right.
At that price, this offense, Baker is still Baker. I think Ibuka hurts Godwin more, and because he's fighting for those slot snaps, and I don't see the Mike Evans discourse on Liam Cohen, him being schemed up, his production. That's just not who Mike Evans is. Mike Evans is someone who is winning his matchup. He's reading the zones. He isn't getting schemed up touches that he's more reliant on a coordinator.
Right. He's going out and dominating the opposing outside cornerback one physically and vertically as well with speed.
His red zone chops are undeniable too. And he has spike week potential too, which with Baker, because I was actually surprised until the Burrow stacks were really growing. It was the Baker Evans stacks that were really trending up, and some of the higher finishers, but I tended to focus on really the top 4 or 5 teams to really think, okay, how are they actually winning this thing and getting to the top? Because that's what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to get, well, I would be very happy to get 13th or 14th place, but for the stream, we're trying to make 7 figures over here. So
you shoot for first place and you land in 13th.
Yeah, I don't want to get Ricky Bobby pilled too hard, but like that's the mentality. Like let's shoot for the stars and land on a cloud, which is second place. So
hey man, nice $1 million chop. I would take that. Second place. What do you think of this prize structure? Seems pretty reasonable, like each spot kind of gets what it deserves.
It's a good distribution, and I do like to a degree having some regular season emphasis as well. I don't find it as big of a deal just because also it discourages the pre-schedule release drafts, which is the period that we're in, because they're in-game stacks. There's a lot of individual factors that influence winning amongst in the last 2 weeks. Who do you like? Oh, Ridley just went.
I
How do
like
you
the
feel about
Waddle
Jalen
pick.
Waddle? It's just a year ago we were taking him much higher and not much has changed. I feel like the Dolphins have hit disaster level and everyone's just counting him out. Now Rome is totally legitimate too, just as a year or two top 10 capital breakout.
I think there's a chance Rome comes back to us. I think there's no chance we would get Waddle on the way back. I'm down
I'm
for
with
Waddle. The
Waddle. I think
talent is
he's
all the way
super
there.
underrated.
Yeah.
And if the Tyreek Hill crash out that some people are projecting happens, then Waddle without Tyreek Hill absolutely eats. Like at
Facts.
one point, he did break the rookie reception record in his rookie season, then which Brock Bowers broke, but he did break it. So
So
I would
sorry.
think Rome. I think it's too early with these running backs. You think I just find the 20s range to be pretty solid at running back, and I feel we can bounce back off of that.
Yeah, if you can get like an Adunze and almost middle round 6, that's like I know both the Bears are falling. To me, it's a no-brainer. I'm not going to be a ridiculous person. I mean, the Lions lost Ben Johnson, and Jameson Williams still goes in the 40s, and Amon-Ra's a first-round pick. The Bears get Ben Johnson, but because they added day 2 wide receiver, now we have to discount these guys by 20 picks from where they were. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think Amon-Ra is a much more of a schematic based. He is very good, but he is a
So,
schematic. Dang,
so
we
we
took
lose
Rome.
Rome.
How's Ken Walker? You worried about Charbonnet?
I'm not too worried
Kamara's
about it.
always is underrated. If you want
I
to just hedge
like
the offenses, if you're fine with Ken Walker, we can stick
let's
with
do
that.
Ken. Yeah.
Just going best player available to start, and then we can backfill and start to stack.
Yeah.
On the later side.
I can't get there with Jawan Jennings, man, at this price. I think he's going to get cheaper as the offseason goes on, as we get more news on maybe Ayuk being healthy.
They could definitely be a candidate to sign someone too, or it's Ricky, or really Kittle could get a much bigger target share. They just gave him 4 years, 76 million, and
And
Brandon Ayuk is getting a big contract too, but with his injury. But follow the money does have some degree. It's not a 1-for-1, Gabe Davis, but it's definitely an indicator. And we know George Kittle is very good. He's been a consistent yards per route run leader at the position, so they could definitely use him more. And Juwan in the same range as Odunze is crazy.
like just looking at the talent, right? Like what is the like Jawan? Like just listen to the names like Jordan Addison, Roma Dunze, Kenneth Walker, Debo Samuel, Jawan Jennings. Like when we look back at the end of the year, it's gonna be like, why were we taking Jawan Jennings with these guys who are obviously better than him? And
he did have that one historic week, but that was the Rams defense. They were kind of figuring themselves out. So back at that time, the Rams defense was one of those smash starts. And then they managed to get together and get the scheme right for their personnel. But at the time, they were a rough unit back then. And then they managed to keep themselves together.
And that was with, I'm pretty sure, no Ayuk, no Ricky, no CMC. It's like there's a lot more mouths to feed now.
Exactly.
I mean, if Judy would fall, he's not going to, but that would be like a miracle. Yeah. I like Caleb Johnson a lot. Again, don't think he'll be there, but he kind of gives me like, this isn't a good comp, but like baby Derrick Henry vibes of just like the Steelers saw what Derrick Henry did for the Ravens, and they're like, we want that. And they went out and got like the biggest, fastest running back in the draft, and they're going to give him the ball all the time.
To me, he feels like, so when Najee was with the Steelers, he would get a lot of like 3, 4, 5 yards, and then he would have a few breakout runs, but because he didn't have the long speed, he couldn't turn those into long touchdowns. Caleb, to me, feels like the guy who's filling that last part of the thing where Najee would stop at 12, 15, 17 yards, and I think it would frustrate them. But I do like him at that spot. I do like Pollard as well. Caleb would be a pretty nice fall, but I do feel like he goes either one of those two, and then we could hit receiver more in the next few picks.
So Caleb goes.
I could either Hawkinson, Pollard for me, unless
Let's go
or
Pollard
we could
and
go. No, Baker's too early as a QB2.
Yeah, let's go Pollard and see what comes back to us.
I like going best player available. That's the vibes I'm getting early.
It's a controversial strategy, but I think you might be onto something. Like sometimes we just overthink it, and if you feel like you have a good read on like the later round targets at multiple positions, you can kind of just make it work. As long as you check like certain structural boxes, like you need a certain amount of wide receivers through 7 rounds.
Yeah.
You know, if we had 2 right now, I'd feel pretty cooked.
And the other thing too is looking at these receivers, all of their respective quarterbacks still on the board. That's I think the underrated part is that these aren't you would call it a naked stack if, let's say, we took Xavier Worthy. Obviously he's way off the board, but Mahomes is already gone. But we have Stafford still on the board. We have Baker still on the board. I believe, yeah, he has a gun ticket.
Now this is disgusting.
Tua's still on the board.
I don't take a lot of Cup, but if we make a bet on the Seattle offense with Kenneth Walker, and you're like, this is like a borderline, like a top 12 offense or something. Cooper Kupp might be washed, but he also might not be. And they paid him, and they're definitely going to try to make him a thing.
And he'll earn targets.
Right.
He's definitely a high target earner, and we can go with him.
You're down for that?
Yeah.
All right.
I guess Jonu's far down enough if we want to get some Miami shares as well. If we want to go Tua as a backup, because Tua is a very spike week player. Notoriously, he's up and down when the Dolphins are in a rhythm. The betting on the Tyreek Hill crash out is actually a nice angle as well, where if Tyreek forces a trade, which there are receiver needy teams, and there's draft capital willing to be moved, and he's already been traded before, then Jonu and Tyreek or Jalen Waddle with Tua who keeps falling, by the way.
Yeah, we could push him a little bit.
So that's kind of the stack I see. If you see also Igbuka, but he is really a day one ready guy. I just worry that he's going to get the Seattle Seahawks, JSN, Chicago Bears, Roma Dunze, and it's getting very normalized across the league, at least with those two guys, that you can still sit because the efficiency with the contracts of the rookie deal receivers is so wide that you can wait a year or two because they're about halfway down from the quarterbacks, because the rookie contract flexibility started with quarterbacks, because you could save $40-50 million playing a rookie that's 70% as good as the stud you're signing for $50 million. And now that's trickling down to wide receiver as these contracts start getting huge.
Right. And now we're at the point where
Johnny
we're getting De'Ami Brown for 10 or 12 million a year. That's the landscape we're in.
Wild. How could they?
How could this happen to the game I love?
So Jonu's out, which is fine. We can adapt.
No.
Baker. Well, we do have Lamar. Are there any Ravens? Where's Mark Andrews?
Oh, gotta do that. I mean, what about Mark Andrews Bateman double tap with the Lamar stack? Because we don't have anything with them at the moment.
That's a good one because they're relatively cheap.
And like these receivers here, like I'm not losing sleep over missing out on them.
No, of that group, I would say only Pittman is really of interest, just because I think we're hard overreacting to one season of these quarterbacks. Daniel Jones was in a disastrous situation. Now, putting your hat as an analyst in the Daniel Jones isn't bad at football camp is he's not totally, completely, and utterly washed.
The only other question I would have is, would you want to go Bo Nix as a bit of a faller? And let's do Mark Andrews first, I guess.
I would do it, Mark Andrews, because we're totally unstacked right now.
Yeah,
and I don't think he would. I don't think he would make it to our next pick. Although I do like Bo. Bo's young, so well. Pittman already went, but for example, Anthony Richardson. Let's see up his age. Anthony Richardson is 22.
Yep.
The idea that he's done developing one way or another, not that he's going to be a super accurate quarterback necessarily, but even just a slight uptick. It was Carson Wentz and maybe late career Matt Ryan where Michael Pittman was really making his due. Because we used to take him like wide receiver 20 or so. Let me see. So he's 2 years removed from an 1,152 season.
I'm just seeing if there's anything here that we should get instead of Bateman and try to, because he's been a faller. My lean is to lock it up, but I'm just seeing if there's any of these running backs you feel like that's a nicey value and risk it for Bateman, or
Charbonnet is overkill. I do like Jordan Mason as a value. So you want to get a fourth running back to really anchor the advance rate and then just go for upside after that. Baker's long gone, right?
Yeah.
So
someone take Tootin. Yeah. You feeling like rolling the dice, or you want to go Bateman?
I think it's stick with Bateman for now.
Let's do it.
At least get one major, and then I think there's just a lot of values. Mason, Charbonnet being two premium handcuffs that are an injury away from changing fantasy landscapes. We have one tight end locked in. Any quarterbacks you're thinking about? Stafford's out for a while. We could have two. What
do you think about Darnold and a job security perspective as well?
I think Milrose probably a year out, and signing Cooper Kupp is a very win now type of move. I think it depends heavily on the offensive line, and third round for a QB is pretty brutal historically. And Milroe to me isn't super developed as a passer. His rushing ability is elite, but so is Malik Willis. And backup quarterback is one of the most, from a front office perspective, is one of the most underrated parts of the team, because you're one guy away from the whole thing potentially unraveling. And things do happen.
Sam Darnold going behind. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold going behind Anthony Richardson, dude. What are we doing?
Sometimes I've seen him get picked ahead, but obviously this is more of a rolling average. I mean, seeing even Stafford, who we might consider for Puka, 20 spots ahead is pretty wild.
Who's more likely to keep their job this year, Anthony Richardson or Sam Darnold?
Oh, I mean, it's not even close.
It's Darnold, right?
It's not, it's not even close. Yeah, it's up to Darnold. Because I just said some nice stuff about Anthony Richardson being young, but it is a risk. It is a risk. If you're trying to stack it, it definitely is a risk.
And I know a lot of people, Richardson's very polarizing. Like, people either have like 2% of him or like 20%. And I'm on the 2% side because there's nothing worse than you have like two quarterbacks and one of them doesn't have a job anymore.
Definitely a 3 QB build. Now, I actually think I would maybe be somewhere in the middle on that, but that would be as a third QB.
Okay.
If you have to, especially if you're taking Lamar super early, you're largely Lamar. You're only hedging really against injury, and then you're take maybe one premium backup, and leave it be at that. If it's someone like you're taking like Baker, Bo Nix, then I'm actually pretty happy to take him as the third guy because we don't know if it just happens to be the off weeks for those two guys, and Anthony Richardson just might be the guy and run. But only in that scenario. I think it's more of a fit issue.
So a couple options here. Rashid Shaheed's a faller. There's also setting up we're going, okay, he's gone. I always like the Jordan Love back stack because he's so undervalued, and we could stack him with Kraft.
We can do that. Oh no, we have no access to Cowboys, no access to Houston. We can go Love here. I'm cool with and Kraft is right there.
I think I'm going to need you to take a leap of faith with me. We go Kraft first. And just the way that these things go, I think.
So you think the QBs fall a little more? Do you like Kraft do you like Kraft a lot as I actually like him as a talent.
Yeah. And he can be like a second tight end no matter what. Like, we can live with him if he doesn't. We have so many quarterback options, but he on his own is a great value. He had 707 last year as a young ascending player. Still, he had a crazy torn pectoral muscle injury and came back. And I also think Kraft would have gone to this guy with no tight ends potentially, or this guy. But I think the way we order that is to get Love back. Like, these guys are not taking Love.
Logging the Packers passing game is a good one. I'm not as sold on Matthew Golden as people are. I just think he's more of a field stretcher. I know I'm in the hater side of this camp, and there's some analysts there that around that back me up too, but I just think Golden is more for real life and less for fantasy, and there's a lot of questions. We don't have any indication Christian Watson is playing, not unless you're seeing or hearing something different. And why not? Kraft is efficient. He's really good after the catch, which is a LaFleur staple. He loves being able to get guys into open space.
So we get Love back. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And now we feel good about
the book on quarterback, or would you pursue? I guess because Waddle is only one of our guys, and we didn't double dip with Jonnu. Tua isn't as big of a motivation.
Yeah, just with naked Waddle, I don't love Tua quite as much. Like, it's fine, but his best weeks are when two guys are going off.
I think so too. Once Jonnu got snagged, that was kind of the downside for me.
Where it just gets a little less appealing. And Love is like a guy who he could have. I think he's more likely to have more spike weeks than some of our other stacking partners like Stafford. And on top of that, you don't necessarily have to nail who he's throwing to that week because there's so many guys. It gets so spread out that he could have 30 points and none of his receivers have 30 points.
And Jordan Love is still an ascending talent. He's up and down. I think he had some slight health issues of his own last year, and he just had guys in and out of the line, out of the lineup as well. So he's just a very clear bounce back. I think it's an interesting best player available, and we do have the Ravens stack at minimum and this second Packers stack. Now we could add a non-Wicks receiver later because I think he's if I was running the Packers, I would Wicks is a cut candidate for me. You drafted Golden.
So who would be your starting 3 wide receiver set?
Golden, Romeo Dobbs, and I think even Melton's more reliable. Wicks is just unreliable to me in general. You can't be missing routes, dropping passes. I know the dropping passes part is the part that he really gets a lot of flack for, which is obviously deserved, but there are a lot of other routes where Jordan Love is throwing the ball to a spot and he's not there, and the efficiency on his targets is pretty rough, and that really does set the team back. And it almost gives you a temptation when the guy separates and isn't tracking the ball, and it really hurts the team. And they're free agents. They can go sign Amari Cooper, and I think he's a much better receiver. But it's not the Packers style. They're more through the draft. And obviously you draft Matthew Golden, the first Packers receiver that they took. And back in the day, I have to confirm 100%, but I have vague memories of Aaron Rodgers wanting T. Higgins, and the Packers just said no. And that was during the peak Rodgers years. So for them to take a receiver first round, and this was not when Gutekunst was the general manager, so this is the first time that he's taken a receiver this early. So,
what do you think about Ray Davis, Jaden Blue?
You're not a Garendo. Do you not like Garendo?
Well, we have McCaffrey.
So you don't like to double dip. Okay. Is it too early for Dobbs?
I think we could push him.
I'm just not. Jaden, I don't know.
Neither. Well,
that's all right.
Did you hear the report that Jaden Blue was the Cowboys' RB3 on their draft board today?
Wow. I like him as a receiver. I think he fills a role. I think he fills a role as the third down back. He has a lot of fumbling issues, and his size. My heart's been broken with the Deuce Vaughn highlights are one of the most ridiculous things you can watch. Like, your jaw drops that this guy isn't just crushing the league, like full Darren Sproles 2.0 for the Gen Z that's watching. Like, Darren Sproles was freaking sick.
But Jaden Blue, I will say, he is a little bigger than I thought. He is 5'9", 195. That's almost Genti tier. I'm not saying he's
almost Genti tier is crazy. What's Jaden Blue's like? Can we pull up his bench stats? Like,
he's basically Ashton Genti is what I'm saying. No. Ashton Genti's very thick, but what is Jahmyr Gibbs?
Every fast player who catches the football is not necessarily Gibbs. Now he does have a path to playing time. I did think he was underrated, given where the pre-draft people are saying, oh, he's totally washed. He's a very good receiver. He was fast. He's never been trusted in a full-time role. Dobbs did fall. It is kind of funny that I would have been totally happy with Dobbs. I would say Dobbs, unless you want to go Tua or Algier for board purposes.
Nah, I won't make you take Wick, so let's do Dobbs.
Yeah, Dobbs.
On the Jaden Blue thing, Devon Achane, how about this comp? They're the same height, and Jaden Blue weighs a little bit more. How about Jaden Blue, Cowboys, Devon Achane?
There's a lot of people that when you really look at the whole totality of prospects, there are prospects that will look and feel the same from just a pure body standpoint. I can look up some of the combine statistics. Like, for example, my guy now since you've glazing, I'm gonna glaze my guy who went undrafted, Donovan Edwards. Donovan Edwards, I believe, hit one of the biggest. He hit 4.41 at 40 speed, and I believe he was one of the top bench statistics. I'm gonna look up should have this up. That's my my fault over here.
Oh,
He was one of the
good.
top bench press guys. If you look at the quality of competition that Donovan Edwards was producing in, like since if you're going to reach, it was against like Ohio State, TCU, Washington, Alabama, like these big schools. So there are a lot of guys that are similar. Let's see. So let's do this. Let's do running backs.
Wow. You want to hear? I was just talking about Jahmyr Gibbs. Do you want to know who the running backs coach at Texas compared Jaden Blue to?
Who? Gibbs?
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Oh my gosh. That is a loyal guy right there. Shout out that coach. That is I actually like Jaden Blue. It's just now because of the role, he's getting a lot of buzz, which I understand, and it's good draft capital. At one,
well, and his competition is like the worst in football. I would argue. I'm personally of the belief that Javonte Williams just doesn't offer much in the way of anything besides pass blocking, total dust, and Miles Sanders. I mean, sure, he was something in Philly behind the number one offensive line in a great system, but a lot of people are something in Philly. So looks like we've lost Shawn here at the moment. I will keep this thing going. Never fear, your captain is here to steer. Let's see if we can get him back. In the meantime, we are looking at a Lamar Jackson, Jordan Love, McCaffrey, K-Walk, Pollard, Jaden Blue, Puka Nacua, Mike Evans, Jalen Waddle, Cooper Kupp, Rashad Bateman, Romeo Doubs, and Mark Andrews, Tucker Kraft. I will try to keep this draft in good faith of what I believe my co-pilot would like. Well, doing decent on running back production. Does feel like it could be a wide receiver click here. Any stackable things? I think Austin Eckler's a good pick here. Just keep locking in some more running back production. I don't think we necessarily need another quarterback unless one that we like falls to us. Sam Darnold's interesting, but you cover your bases pretty well with Lamar and Jordan Love. To me, this feels like an Amari Cooper spot, which folks at home might not love, but hey, we all got to draft our own teams and make our own beds to lie in.
oh my bag.
Yo.
They don't want to win. They don't want us to win. Oh, I see.
They don't.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to my internet. I apologize.
Yeah, if you didn't get back in here, we were gonna have to take down Tavian Wicks.
Oh my gosh, I'd freak out.
Get
that 50% team Venmo request declined. No, I'm kidding. I would not do that. That's horrible. That's horrible.
You'd send like $11.30. You would like shave off like an 18th of the.
That's real. Honestly, with that, I was thinking about it. And like the Dobbs Blue. If you reverse that order, I'd actually be happy with it. I think we got a little lucky that Dobbs fell. And I think he's still the most reliable target that Jordan Love trusts. And he was starting ahead of the other guys while Christian Watson was healthy. And I don't see a huge reason for that to change.
Are you down with Amari here, or is there another pick that you feel?
Amari at 184 is completely nuts. I mean, we could have this discussion the second, like 10 times. I will intern for his agent. This is ridiculous. He had 1,250 yards 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Like,
what about 3 years ago?
Like, he
1100
was traded
something.
for a 3rd-round pick, like, what, 9 months ago, 10 months ago? It's incredible. Like, it's actually incredible. I don't usually say like, it's my brain is scrambling thinking about it. 184 is criminal. He's going to
We're
sign
on
to a
that.
team. It's just like Diggs. It's just Diggs 2.0. So for people who aren't totally down the rabbit hole drafting before the NFL draft for an in-season best ball draft, and BBM 6, of course, itself started after the draft. But for those who weren't in contest, Diggs was going so far back because of his ACL and, oh, he's washed now. No team wants him. He's just a character concern. The old Minnesota Vikings video where no one on the team wanted Diggs to date their sister comes up and he doesn't belong in the league. Lo and behold, signs to the Patriots. Was it 4 years, 92 million, and now he's flying up boards.
And
he's
here
not
we
washed
are.
anymore, is he? It's actually incredible.
And here we are getting Amari Cooper in the 180s. You love to see it.
It's just insane. It makes me just want to draft more, honestly. Like, just Amari alone. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. If there's any clip that's going to age super, super well, Amari Cooper at 184 is stupid. I don't want to say other naughty words, but it is cooked, brain rot, whatever word you want to use. This is ridiculous.
L Price.
Richard's kind of nicey right there at 660.
I'm feeling we could go really
Oh,
anyway.
so you got Eck when I was being attacked by 3-letter agencies making this stream.
Was that a reasonable enough pick?
Oh, Eck's a good one. And it's a great offense. It's receiving targets in a great offense. And you're betting that a guy with low. So in the sort of age, I'm like really big in the age curve rabbit hole. So there's kind of two camps where you're either in the biological age rabbit hole where it just matters how when you're born, when you turn 32, 33, like your body slows down. That's one theory. Yeah. The second theory is your playing age, meaning that how many carries have you had? Have you had 400 carries? Are you a guy who's like running through a MFer's face? Like,
sorry,
that
quick question here.
Yes.
Sorry, I definitely want to come back to that.
You're good. I know.
Brashard Smith, is he your favorite running back here? There's also Shipley, Marshawn Lloyd, Ollie Gordon, Taj
I would say
Brooks.
Shipper Taj. Or Smith, yes. I mean,
I'll let you make the call. Which of these three is your favorite?
You know what? We talked about Ship. Let's go Ship.
All right, let's do it.
Let's go Ship.
And we don't have any other Eagles, so that's our little Eagles leverage. And then,
just in case he pulls a Rex Burkhead.
Round 18. Do we have any stacking partners? Well. I don't know. Do we?
Please, someone take him. Free me of this demonic burden. Look who else is in that stack. Oh, he just went. Yeah.
No, that was
Larry Bird himself. Just took your guy Diami.
Larry Bird went, but we still got Magic Johnson on the board.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Larry Bird is here instead of watching the Pacers that are playing like not too long from now.
Dude, someone's got to save you, man. It's looking rough for you right now, Kane.
I know, and Wicks is like actually the right pick here.
I told you, round.
So what's the tight end 3 market looking like? I mean, we don't have any fields, so Mason Taylor's long gone now. What about? I mean, Terrence Ferguson is kind of nice. I know, like, yeah.
Did you hear that quote though?
Snead was on the interview saying Higbee. They're obsessed with Higbee. I just don't understand. I think
Higbee glaze exists, whether it should or not. It exists.
It's crazy. I don't know. There must be like best friends. I actually don't get it because a lot of guys have come through the Rams and tried to replace him, but no one can quite latch on.
My friend, you know what must be done.
It's the right pick.
It has to be done.
That's why they don't let GMs just like have at any favorite team. Like this is obvious, but people don't realize it. Like, the Eagles aren't Howie Roseman's fantasy team. Like it's a team decision. Obviously, he's the one who makes the ultimate choice, but it is a group decision. That's why front offices exist, because of scenarios just like that. He is the obvious right choice. You have three guys plus Love. So if Love
actually worked out.
Decent, yeah.
We got 3 of the 4 guys. We just didn't get Matthew Golden, but I mean at cost, we got a great backstack.
Yeah. And going back to that Packers discussion, we also missed Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed on a per
total brain fart there.
Yeah.
Oh my. But there is a world where week 1, Matthew Golden still figuring out the ropes. Jaden Reed's more the slot guy. Week 1, 2 wide receiver sets might be Romeo Doubs and Dontavian Wicks. I'm just saying with Tucker Kraft.
It could be, and with injuries too, and just the random. I think Wicks has the spike week just at the bottom of the bench, so I can at least attempt to sleep at night. We'll find out tomorrow how I sleep. So at this point where it's either you're reaching quarterback, sleeper, tight end 3, or just is there anyone deep in the receiver rabbit hole? I know you probably have too much finance. Oh, Slayton's gone. You have too much finance in Slayton. So
yeah, exactly. The bank examiner is going to come get me any day if I take another share. But that actually
the
IRS
is already like, it is okay. I thought we might have had.
That was Dontavian Wicks, a nice bow on this build, and as far as 18th round pick, like he was a bad pick last year in like the 10th or 11th or whenever he went, but I'll never forget the 5 catches on 13 targets he had for 78 and 2. We'll never forget. So many people told us that was the beginning of a generational run.
Yeah, I mean, people were going crazy, dropping crazy amounts of fab on him. Myself, people meaning me. I mean, there are people holding positions that are very prominent. I won't say names, but I may have offered someone like 70 fab dollars in Dynasty for Wicks and instant decline. I was like I think I did it during like a bathroom break or something. And I was like, aren't you at work? Like you stop the meeting. Someone has offered me Dynasty fab dollars for Wicks. So whatever you just said, wait 10 seconds for me to decline this trade. And then we will continue the meeting. Like
I'm getting an editor to block out everything you just said about spending money on Dontavian Wicks. We can't have this on public record.
I'm totally at the same time, like you can't just let the past always dictate your future. And as an 18th round pick, I can quasi not crash out, but
you could learn how to catch the ball.
Who else could you even take at that spot?
We could look as a thought exercise, like who's
a deep sleeper at receiver, let's say. I mean, we do have 2.
Like the guys who went after him, like we're talking about Tyler Lockett, cooked at like age. Darius Slayton I like, but it just works, that's like the only other guy I really like.
I'll unburden you from what has been in the Darius Slayton investment.
Thank God for that. Kavonte Turpin, the 29-year-old returner from like the XFL or whatever.
Yeah, I've heard some hype on him, but it's just as yak experiment. The depth chart isn't set today. We're not playing games tomorrow. There's 4 months. There's mini camp, training camp. There's a summer where they're off. There's a lot of time. And then in the let's go to the receivers. Are there any like deep cuts to look at?
Let me pull that up. And I was pulling up.
Once you're hitting real sicko levels, just digging in the hundreds of receivers, but this is the demographic that's fiending for live stream content in May. But it is fun, and it's a great way to prepare for the upcoming season in these season long leagues as well, or even if you are doing best ball, just to get some exposures early, and to get Amari Cooper at 184, because that is not happening in August.
No, it is not. And while we are on, I got to have my little mild crash out every episode. Let me pull up. This is my first time switching tabs on here. Let's see. Okay. Cowboys snap count from last year when they still had all these guys. Like, are people telling me that Kevontae Turpin, was playing, he never got above 53% of the snaps? Are people under the impression that, he's moving into the Brandon Cooks role? What is happening here? This is a part-time player, Khalif Raymond-ass pick. He doesn't play, and he doesn't do anything.
Khalif Raymond's actually a compliment, because when Khalif Raymond plays, he actually does produce. So the other thing that happens is during this time of year, we're constantly imagining the fun player is going to play over the reliable player. So that's the Dobbs. This is totally from a Tolbert versus Turpin standpoint. That's the Dobbs Wicks argument to me, where Dobbs is the one running his route. He's blocking. He's doing what he's supposed to do. If the ball is thrown his way, more often than Wicks, he's catching the ball. And he's 28 years old. Look at that. 28 years old. Yep. Is something magically going to change? Probably not.
29. We'll be 29 when the season starts.
29
and
is even worse.
Am I wrong that his stats on Underdog, I got to look at that again. I could have swore it says on there that he had 500 something yards or something. I'll have to look at that. He had 420 yards, 92 rushing.
Yeah,
so
maybe that's all purpose.
You're talking for the Kevontae Turpin Glazers, if they could show me one usable week besides the 3 for 86 that seems super sustainable, I would love to find the usable fantasy
64-yard touchdown. That's a as they would say back that's a Devery Henderson as John, you would say.
That is a Devery Henderson as John, indeed. I mean, what do you even win when you win with this guy? Because sure, he might be efficient, which I don't even know if he's really that efficient with his target commanding. Doesn't seem
it's a total deep threat argument. It's just hopefully Dak throws the ball downfield and he comes up with it twice in week 17 and I win some cash. That's kind of the argument. That's not, at least from what I try to target, and I think you're the same, is who's the one getting 10 for 120 and 2 touchdowns, like Pearsall last year, late Thielen last year. So I don't see it with Turpin.
Because there's just, even if you're a deep threat and you get the 60-yard bomb and you score, that's 12 and a half points. But if that's your only catch, 12 and a half points isn't going to do it for you. There still needs to be a sufficient amount of routes where you can compile a couple other little catches to
and
make it a worthwhile score.
Shocker, his body is not red zone oriented too, so he can't get multiple short touchdowns, which by any degree of a touchdown probability model, it's exponentially harder to get touchdowns that are 50 plus yards than it is to get that one that's inside the 10. That's 100%. Why we target red zone targets or players with a red zone build or a history of scoring touchdowns like Mike Evans that we took earlier. Now, is there any true sicko receiver maybe that went undrafted that you do like? Or anybody?
Yeah. Where is he? Where is he?
I would.
Oh, he did go.
Think about the Deontay Johnson might stop being insane argument, but that's basically the end of that sentence. That's
this is my sicko.
He can play, but it's just there are playoff teams that chose not to put him on the. There's a huge difference between Buffalo in a cap tight situation didn't re-sign Amari Cooper, therefore he's washed, versus Houston didn't put him on the playoff roster in a playoff scenario because he's, I guess, nuts or whatever.
He seems Deontay seems to like Deontay a lot, which hey, I respect it. I'd like me too if I was making a lot of money playing football, but you know, you gotta reel it in and put the team first. This is my sicko pick, but he actually went in this one. But when you add up the receiving and the rushing yards, he had like 765 all-purpose yards. 765 yards, we'll take that. And you just hope that he can run a little better on touchdowns, maybe get like 3 or 4. And he's like locked into 3 wide receiver sets, unless you're a Nick Nash guy, which I also am. So, yeah, this is a bit of an inner struggle.
I still think Ray clears him. I think Nick Nash might catch on with another team that's a little more receiver needy.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a board pick for them to just get him as an undrafted.
Yeah.
And just from a schematic standpoint, if you're a Falcons opponent and you're sick of Drake London, the Kyle Pitts, who can guard one-on-one, it's sick of Drake London and sick of Mooney beating you, and Atlanta's trailing so they can't get Bijan as involved. Now that's a few guys down, but Penix certainly has enough willingness, and Ray can play.
Yeah. He had a multitude of like good yardage.
And a nice offense could do it. And Penix can certainly get yards. That's actually an interesting stack. We just weren't taking Drake at 9 is crazy. So we couldn't do that. So, okay. So
Drake,
I can either look at the underdog guys. Let's see if any of these guys, Malik Washington, Davis, Rudy, Curtis Samuel. Oh, this is getting spicy.
Curtis Samuel is like, if you squint hard enough, you could maybe see it, but it's still like, what do you win when you win? Devon Bailey, I got a decent amount in pre-draft because there's a chance he starts in 3 wide receiver sets.
Demarcus Robinson had a 5 to 6 week run where he's actually viable. I'm curious what his contract is, because if you're a true Juwan Jennings ain't all that guy.
Yeah.
San Fran is 2 years, $8 million, $6 million guaranteed.
A Brandon Ayuk injury guy, if you're one of those, you know, that he might be out there. This one is interesting.
So DeMarcus is getting 2 years, $8 million. Let's look at Juwan.
That is a tough scene. That's Michael Gallup money, damn near. That's a tough scene.
Oh, Juwan is spelled funny. I was like, how does Spotrac not have Juwan's? I believe Juwan is getting paid like next to nothing.
Yeah.
So Juwan has 2 more years left. Oh, Juwan's on a 212 or 215. Okay, so Juwan's getting 2 years, 15. So that's pretty good. That's still double. But 4 versus 8, Juwan's going 64. I know. I mean, we're talking about sickos, and obviously for the glaze, of course, Roman Wilson. But I don't think so. With the DK trade, that's a big white flag for him, unfortunately.
What about Ty Felton? 3rd round pick, great athlete.
Jalen Naylor role if he takes that role.
Yeah, I like Naylor too. I'm a little worried now though that Felton's there. Mike Williams, could he get on the field for Justin Herbert?
And Trey Harris is I do like Trey Harris a lot, but he is developmental. That actually wouldn't surprise me a ton.
Who's going to be the Commanders wide receiver 3? Is it Luke McCaffrey or Noah Brown? Or that other guy? Did they take Jalen Lane?
Yeah, they took Lane. It's probably a nasty rotation.
Yeah.
It's probably a nasty rotation. At some point, Ben Sinnott has to see the field. He's still a 2nd round pick, so maybe they go more 12, but the strength of Jaden Daniels is spreading it out, and Zach Ertz is essentially the kind of the real slot player of this because Ben Sinnott can block. So Ertz can block. Ertz is free to operate. Oh, I miss Hunter Renfrow. That makes
Are we doing Hunter Renfrow slot receiver, the real Adam Thielen?
I mean, I would Spider-Man meme that pretty hard, but Adam Thielen's obviously much better. See, you can't get canceled saying that, can you? So,
Parker Washington going behind a guy who's not going to play this year, I will say, is a tough scene.
yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. Bo Melton, if you want to sick, I would say actually of that group, I could see DeMarcus Robinson of that group. I know that's like a ridiculous. If Ayuk, you're a knee injury away and Jawan being mid away, 2 years 16 isn't a crazy commitment. I know that's a step and this is why you take receiver so heavily early middle rounds, because you don't want to deal with these people. Actually, Jake Bobo, who's the receiver?
Low-key.
Who's the receiver 3 in Seattle right now?
It's either Jake Bobo or Torrey Horton.
I mean, Jake Bobo when he plays. I could take the Bobo pill. I mean, you're jeez.
I'm seeing if
you're starting people when you're in the receivers without numbers.
I'm gonna give it 2 more scrolls to see if there's like a name I could. We found the name. We found the name. I would take. He's projected for 0 points.
That's crazy.
Honestly, Jimmy Horn, if he was not on Carolina, because they have like 6 wide receivers, but like if Jimmy Horn could go somewhere where they like have 3 guys, like the Falcons, but like they don't have a 4th, and there's an injury, Jimmy Horn is actually a pretty good player.
Yeah.
That was a very disgusting.
Reynolds and Jets. Yeah, Reynolds, Jets. Like maybe because Lazard. Who's catching patches? Although I think Breece Hall is actually going to be. We talked about it last stream. Breece Hall, I think, is actually going to end up being second in the team in targets, because you aren't like legally obligated to throw to wide receivers.
No.
So, and he is a proven good receiver as a running back. So, okay, so any running backs, just to do some sicko digging.
Yeah.
Just to
some of these top few make sense. I'll do Mostert from time to time. Just he is the RB2 for right behind Ashton Jenney.
Yeah.
What do you think about Miles Sanders? Is there any who's going to be the leading rusher for Dallas as it stands today? I can't imagine they give more carries to Javonte than Miles Sanders.
I think it's.
But I'm in the minority.
I think someone else has to factor in. I don't think Jacksonville. I actually like some of the Jacksonville veterans, because why are you keeping 4 guys for? It's just kind of ridiculous. And you can at least cash in off the hype. I think Tank Bigsby would be amazing as a Cowboy, or ETN. Why not? Compliment Jaden Blue, I think, can be a competent receiving back or used as a slot. Why not?
Is ETN our generation's Miles Sanders?
He's had some really. Miles Sanders has hit 1,000 yards, hasn't he? And he has kind of questionable.
He had 1269.
Wow.
11. I'm saying.
Running backs have some heart. I mean, at that price, of course, last round. Yeah. Isaiah. No, Devin Singletary's 2 guys away. Estimate. I mean, if you want to fade Harvey, I like Devin Neal more than Kentre Miller. I'm a big Devin Neal guy. If anything happens to Kamara, I just love Devin Neal's tape, and he can catch the football. He can run all of those Alvin Kamara opposing fantasy owner crash out routes. So
I might have to mix in a little late Devin Neal, because I'm not sure if Kendre Miller. But, Kendre Miller with a new coaching staff that doesn't hate him, I don't know. It could be an interesting competition, Kendre and Devin Neal.
Kyle, we have Ashton Jeanty at home, Manungai. Actually, Taj not getting drafted. That's I think, kind of a slight fumble. Jordan James is a classic. If shit hits the fan in San Francisco, we've seen it before. We've seen random running backs in Kyle Shanahan systems with speed thrive in that system.
Not just because of the name, but he does give me Jordan Mason vibes in terms of speed, size, style of rushing.
Runs angry.
Yep.
Fast. He
Aren't
could
they about
definitely
the
do it.
same size? Jordan Mason's 5'11", Jordan James is 5'10". Yeah, they're about like the same BMI. Jordan Mason's a little heavier, but
Jordan Mason's a bit more between the tackles, but it's in that style of the speedy running back. Sean Tucker, if he ever got traded, I mean,
whoops.
the Cowboys not trading for Sean Tucker, a sixth or seventh, putting him as RB1, that he could actually hit 1,000. He's actually, if people want to watch that Saints game with Sean Tucker, sure, Liam Cohen plays a role in that, but that's a good football player. You don't get 130, what was it, 133 touchdowns, something like that.
It was something insane. It was like a 40 burger for fantasy purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might be a fun 18th round click like once or twice just to cover your bases in case Bucky gets hurt. Like, he's the guy if Bucky gets hurt.
You think so over Rashad?
I think Rashad's kind of at this point relegated to like a couple carries, but mostly passing down work. He's just so indecisive between the tackles, and just like the coaches are like, dude, you got to run. You got to like run when we hand you the ball. And he's like, nah. So.
And he was always good as the second running back in a committee. So the Sean Tucker game was 14 carries, 136 yards, 3 touchdowns. So
That's
feel pretty
insane.
good getting that. And he had 3 receptions, 56 yards and a touchdown. And he had 2 kick returns for 55 yards.
Oh my God.
You might as well line this guy up at freaking quarterback at this point.
Dude.
I mean, geez.
Sean Tucker 4 touchdown game. That's going to be fun trivia one day.
37.7. And then the next week he had 19.5. Or that I might be reading that wrong. No, just disregard that last part. That was
he's a guy.
Call a misread. But that game he went absolutely off. I think he, like, why not?
Bro, Kareem Hunt, the Chiefs running back in like round 18.
This is when you know you're frying your last brain cells. Until you have actually collapsed on stream, we must dig further into the ranks until they're players you never even heard of.
You go until your eyes like glaze over and roll back in your head. You're like, dude, Tyler Goodson.
Until you're making the bull case for Brett Favre as your QB4, like haven't dug hard enough.
Dude, don't you remember when Tyler Goodson got like 14 carries that one time? That was crazy.
Remember when they ran a route on 4th and 2 on a halfback flat to Tyler Goodson with the season on the line and he dropped it?
Hey, remember when I thought Ty Chandler was fucking good at football and he's not?
Yeah. Let's talk about starting a team as an RB2, and then you built from there, but I do think Giddens has a chance in Indianapolis. I know that this community thinks Herbert is better than him. I actually liked Herbert when he was a Bear, but he couldn't secure over Chase.
No.
He really didn't play well when he had opportunities, and
can't pass protect.
Yeah, he can't pass protect. And Giddens clearing Herbert is as a backup. Of course, you're searching for upside at this level, because if someone gets hurt, someone can step in and put those big playoff hero numbers. It doesn't happen every year, but if you're in a pool of 120,000, how many? It's a big number, a 6-figure number playing for the same prize. Those are the digs, the deep cuts, and that's what you see in August when someone's going 110. Out of 0, there's always 1 or 2 players every year that just kind of come out of nowhere.
Right. Just a couple blasts from the past before we get out of here. Kamani Vidal.
Oh,
remember him?
Chance.
He was like a round 14 pick at a point last year, round 13.
Zamir White had a nice game as a feature back that week's. Yeah, I think it was week 17 a couple years ago.
He went top 100 last year.
Jeez,
Raiders RB1.
It's crazy. Chasing role that you think is happening in May. Not even the people who are there know who's going to start necessarily. They can if you're not an established guy, you could show up in August out of shape, and lo and behold, job is gone. So you could put the last year Raiders RB coach under a polygraph, and he says, "Do you know who the RB1 is?" in an uncertain backfield, and they would say, "No, we'll see in training camp," and they would pass that test. Or if they said he was the guy,
right.
without draft capital, team investment, or things like that. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh no, sorry, I was cutting you off first. My apologies. But Corey Kiner, did you know he's a Niner now?
That's a nice spot for him. If I was, Corey Keener's agent's got to be happy. Sports Info Solutions had really good advanced numbers on him as a college prospect. So crazier things have happened. Now he did go undrafted, but there are some models. Let's see.
A little Elijah Mitchell type situation. Best case scenario. Very low probability, but I mean, I'm going to be quite honest with you. I don't know who Jared Dokes is. Does that make me a casual?
You're going to have to find out too. I actually don't know that. I don't know who that is. Jared Dokes. That might be the first player we don't know.
Dude, he was a 7th round pick 4 years ago, and he's not on a team, and someone took him. Because if they have an ADP, they were taken one time at least. That's insane.
Okay, so this is some. Okay, so I'm going to read out to you the total points rating just as a college player. Like, this is how well they played in college from a production standpoint. I'll read out the top 9 running backs. So Cam Scatabo, Damian Martinez. 3rd is Corey Keener. 4th is now more your guy, Jaden Blue. Back not too long ago, pre-draft, I was actually the Jaden Blue person. Yeah. Like, he's not an NFL prospect. Camp is ridiculous, but then it's Marion Hampton, Brashard Smith, Jarquez Hunter, Genty, Caleb Johnson. And that includes like receiving and stuff. There's a lot that goes into it.
Damn.
But that's just a raw. That's like their total points is just a production standpoint. Okay, or that's that's combine rating, and then total points from a production standpoint is Genty, Scatabo, Keener. Yeah.
Damn.
So from combine, Keener is a pretty plus athlete.
There's a chance he could beat out. I mean, it's probably not a high chance, but
Garendo.
Would it be the craziest thing if he beat out Garendo and
Jordan James?
Jordan James.
I actually like Jordan. I do like Jordan James, but it's not impossible. I mean, what else you're getting at RB 103? I actually think they should expand the rosters.
20-man?
Yeah.
Or NFL rosters.
And I think that the best ball. Yeah. Maybe not who makes the starting lineup, but it would be cool to see that. I think, I don't know what the ROI is. There's probably a best ball draft curve. It would be worth investigating, like what your expectations are. But once you're past like 140, 150, you're not expecting much, I would imagine, other than maybe a 1 week total.
Yeah, my ideal goal is to get like 3 or 4 usable to spike weeks out of like the later round guys.
That makes sense.
I consider that a W. And then you want to mix in a couple guys who could be like the Kyron, the Puka, the Tank Dell,
Krosky Merritt, actually.
That's the last guy on here that I would take, like the lowest.
Krosky Merritt, just as Brian Robinson could get hurt or is kind of
skibbity.
I was going to say Jag, but yeah, let's say the skibbity.
Tomato.
Yeah, tomato. So Chris Rodriguez, I know this from a story standpoint. I switched Chris Rodriguez for Leonard Fournette in a dynasty, in a consolation bracket. The 1 year I missed the playoffs in like the 8 years of this league, I missed it, and I switched Fournette Bills for Chris Rodriguez, and Chris Rodriguez ate in the Washington system. I think they had a bunch of injuries, And is Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt better than Chris Rodriguez?
He
Yeah,
could be.
probably. Good chance. And you're digging pretty deep over here, but that would be the one.
That's the last one that
LaQuint Allen did get drafted. He was the 7th round guy, right, for the Jags?
Yeah, it's just he's so buried, but he's a Gladstone guy, so and someone
That's
actually
it.
took
I think the
Ezekiel
two
Elliott.
guys are trade candidates. I would be pretty. I just
That's
think the Bears Cowboys got to throw a late round pick, and it's especially because the Jaguars in particular, they traded away a lot of their draft capital, so they want to balance the books a little bit.
Yeah.
In that respect, we saw the same. We've seen the same desires of other teams just to balance it a little bit. Now, you're not going to get relative to Travis Hunter level stuff, but if you're replacing some of these back end picks and you have faith that you're hitting the mid late round picks, because the F them picks philosophy was really they didn't draft first, second round for a while. That was the whole thing. And then they just drafted incredibly well at 3 to 7.
Right.
And that's how they won. It's a bit of a misnomer, but it would be really F them early picks, but that doesn't sound as cool. So
yeah, it doesn't
you
roll
just say
off
F them picks, yeah. Yeah.
F them picks in the top 50 in the NFL draft, but after
Pretty
that,
much.
you find some nice values.
Yeah, but then you could get above AV at your spot or whatever, EV.
The last name I'll float by you. What you know about Phil Maffa, though?
I mean, if they don't trade Phil Maffa at one point at Clemson was much more regarded.
He was a decent prospect at a point.
I believe so. Probably mid-round. At one point, let's throw because he's a Clemson guy, he got a little bit of play, and he did get drafted. No one really thought he'd get drafted. So he's always been, he's been more of a part-time player because Clemson as a program isn't as it wasn't what they were, but he is 6'1", 215. So he has a shot, but I think they're just clear trade candidates. That's just my feeling of the Cowboys.
We are doing a lot of legwork though, saying that the Cowboys are going to behave rationally. Man, I lost faith in that last year. I thought there was no way they would go into the year with Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott.
Maybe
and they actually
when they bring back Zeke, he knows the scheme.
Yeah, he do be knowing the scheme though. I was like, there's no way they go into the year with Rico and Zeke, and it turns out they proved me right. They brought in Royce Freeman. So
yeah, it's crazy. Because it was so addressable, it doesn't mean go sign a premium free agent. It's spend 4, 5, 6, 7 on a sizable athlete that can handle a full workload. Jaden was, nice at Texas as a part-time guy, but he has serious fumbling issues, and that's just not going to fly at the next level. Now, maybe they think it's a fluke. Maybe they think it's coaching. Fumbles are a tricky, because if something happens 6 or 7 times, it's very hard to make a whole projection based on that, versus if you're judging them based on like 100 pass blocking snaps, hundreds of carries, hundreds of routes. So you can be a lot more confident in that. But if someone does something 7 times now, let's not use that argument for someone that's at the bottom of our board that does a naughty drop thing a lot of times at a low number. Let's not do that.
We would never do that.
He's just such a polarizing. As much of a crash out as it is to lose that much fab dollars, it's just the way he gets open. But it's just there's just a professional part of the position that he's just missing, and I think you don't draft Matthew Golden first round without having some degree of doubt. But for our fantasy purposes, we don't need him to carry this team. And he could, if Golden's super developmental, he could definitely eat. And it's a cheap stack. This is our second stack.
I think you and the concept of drafting Dontavian Wicks need to go to couples therapy.
It's going to take a lot of sessions. That's a lot of BBM drafts we're going to lose.
Yeah, your therapist is going to print like 10 years of BBM maxing off of you guys, but you guys got to go through it together. You know, there's good people on both sides, and you know, once you can work past the parts about like dropping and running the wrong route and not being good at football, I think you guys might be able to find some common ground.
He's good. He's decent at like the getting open, which is actually hard to find, but the whole like understand where to go and remember to hold on to the ball part is missing. But LaFleur is an amazing coach. So if anyone's going to do it, it's him.
Yeah.
LaFleur is absolutely top notch. That is full glaze. I mean, you look at the record. I know some Packers fans personally who complain about him sometimes, and I'm a Bears fan. Give me a break.
The Malik Willis game. They got wins with Malik Willis. That's all you need to know.
Malik Willis was fantasy viable. That's a deal. It's too crazy because late QBs, that hasn't happened in so long, where the backup comes in and really cooks.
Especially when they're that raw and that not good. That is like Malik Willis is like the caliber quarterback that you could only win with in Madden. Like, how do you win with like a IRL NFL game with Malik Willis? You got to be a genius.
And he was putting up points. He was putting up fantasy points. Yeah. Like if they expand the rosters, like, but if it's like a 20, 25 man roster and 4 quarterback makes sense.
Dude, that would be sick.
He's up there. They need to pander a little more to the true sickos because we're funding the draft. Look at that number on the screen. That's a pretty good number. I mean, we love our entry folks as well, and we want to get everyone involved. But there's
I got to lose this money somewhere, you know.
Yeah, the element of super fans does matter. So they did build this company off of super fans, just as most companies do.
True.
So,
all right, man. Let's run through the team one last time. We got 2-6-8-2 build. Lamar Jackson and Jordan Love at quarterback. Christian really McCaffrey, Kenneth Walker, Tony Pollard, Jaden Blue, Austin Eckler, Will Shipley. How do you feel about that running back room?
You need the main guys to perform. I think there's good upside at the back end, and we started with more bell cow oriented guys, and now we're looking more towards the pass catching guys that are falling, especially if there's game script involvement or injuries. If Washington's down and isn't as good, Austin Eckler is going to be a lot better. Same with Dallas. If we're hating Dallas and Jaden Blue's catching 7-8 balls for 60, 70 yards, that's pretty good. Late season, teams are bad, teams are good. They get in scenarios. So for game script, especially, Pollard just at his price is still ridiculous. It's going to be a much better offense, a much better team. It's crazy.
We like
and
that.
Very BPA in general.
Exactly. And it worked out. As long as you think ahead of like what, and you have a plan, you can get by with a decent amount of BPA. Wide receiver, Puka Nacua, Mike Evans, Jalen Waddle, Cooper Kupp, Rashad Bateman, Romeo Doubs, Amari Cooper, and Dontavian Wicks. How we feeling about this? I'm going to cut off one of the guys.
Thank you. That's a courtesy cutoff. So Puka, that debate at 9 is pretty strong. You're really happy at any of those, him, Nico, Neighbors, BTJ. I think if you could try to stack it, but we went elite quarterback, so there's kind of 2 angles with that. We didn't need to take Stafford. When you have Love and Lamar, there's really almost 0 weeks available, maybe 1 or 2, so that didn't make a ton of sense. Waddle at his price is pretty good at 57. Kupp is a target getter. There's Tyreek Hill. character concerns. Bateman has good separation numbers and has hit spike weeks, and it's for stacking purposes. And the Ravens are just a really good offense to own a piece of. Dobbs, I was happy that he made it. Amari, I could crash out for centuries. That's like minimum 120 in a few weeks. It's
just so obvious.
It's the same thing. We had the pre-stream era, the Facebook chats was just, how is Diggs? How are you getting Diggs? Why is Diggs here? How is Diggs your wide receiver 7? Are you kidding me? Diggs like 155, like
question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark.
What is happening? Like, what is happening? It's the exact same analysis. It's come on. This is. And what's the worst case scenario? There are 0. You can win a championship with a hard 0. If he has some crazy criminal charge that only the NFL knows, which he doesn't, to our knowledge. And then Andrews and Kraft are really they're stackable and they're good values. Yeah, you have the threat of likely always with the Ravens, and they like Mark Andrews, and he's still a good player. I think he's 30 years old, if I'm not mistaken. Mark Andrews is not old for a tight end.
Yeah, no.
He'll be 30 in the season.
Yeah, and people are acting like he's like Kelsey age. It's like, dude, what are we doing? What are we doing? He dropped a ball in a playoff game. He got off to a slow start last year, but he kind of picked it up. He had that car accident. It was like a weird
NFL leader in touchdowns. Now, sure, the over expectation metrics would fight against that, but a natural bit of up and down. And at that price, what is he going, tight end 9 or 10? So I feel pretty good about that.
We love it. That's a perfectly adequate 2 tight end room. Tight end, you just want a touchdown. And I feel pretty good about getting a touchdown out of ping-ponging those guys,
Yeah, Kraft is a good talent as well. He's young. So, and good offenses. So I feel pretty good about this team, besides one player. But
who
knows?
Besides the 20
it does happen sometimes like that you go and then it's week 17 and someone's hurt and then he just comes and gets 25, and it's like you see at the BBM celebration party, and I look kind of salty because it was Wicks that was the one that took us over the top.
Dude, if Wicks brings us to the
I'm just arm folded, crashing out,
you might have to donate $40 if we win $2 million to a Dontavian Wicks charity or something.
I throw a hard Benji out to get a jersey.
Respect.
Just to take the L. To take the L. And Packers rival team. I'm a Bears fan. So.
Shout out to Wicks, man.
If he makes the lineup. If he's just a straggler, then he can kick rocks, but
yeah, he can beat it. He's got to contribute meaningfully. Yeah. You never know, and that is why we play the games.
Meaningfully in week 7, he's like, no, think about it. Week 7, we want to advance without week 7.
Yeah, that's when you start doing the forensic accounting and going back, and you're like, all right, points over replacement, Dontavian Wicks, week 7. Did he get us over the cut line? You never know.
Yeah.
All right, man. This was fun. You feel decent about the team? I do.
Yeah, good offenses. This is a bet on good offenses. Good offenses just turbo smash when it matters.
Yep. Sometimes it's as simple as getting the best pieces of the best offenses, and they're gonna click at the right time. So, from me, from Shawn, thanks for tuning in, everyone, and have a good rest of your day.
Yep.